Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Anime King 2. And today I'm going to be giving you part 16 of What If Naruto Had the Rarest Bloodline. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto was personally trained by Kurama after leaving the village. And enjoy that guys. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking about to all of you. And yeah, I have 3 channels guys: Anime King 2, and Anime King 3, which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. And yeah, without further ado, with this we begin this new episode. Start the intro. So the last spot we left off, Wakano, as she had a brief flash of how she became daimyo. How she became daimyo of the land of fire. As many people wanted the old daimyo out. That was her father. Many treacherous things the man did, as he wanted him gone. She had went to the Hokage asking for his help, his support. But the man had turned her down because he had favors with her father. Yes, he turned her down, saying that they would be neutral and they would just go along with the regime of what the new daimyo said. But she had met Minato Namikaze and he offered her his assistance. And from there, he helped in the background, even wearing masks and changing his fighting style so no one would know that it was him. With that, she gave him two requests that she will accomplish, as he wanted to be her confidant, to know what was going on. That was pretty easy enough, and also he will save the next one for another time. He had came to her while he was stationed at Chill, as he asked for one of her vaults. She had spared one for him. As he placed things inside, he had went all over the elemental nation. Minato had gotten the finest swords, the finest jewelry, the finest armors. Minato got everything from the elemental nation while he was searching for the truth about him and Naruto, and about his real father as well. As he got everything while on his trip, there was a lot of them. With that out of the way, as he had came back to her now, she saw the look on his face as she told him to promise her that he will come back alive, as he promised. More just to quell her fears, as he had took the Raijin blade with him. Meanwhile, Naruto was at the meeting with Kamina, Mifune, and Doton. The 3 World Nations, yes, they were the leader. As they talk, they were wary of Naruto because they realized that he wasn't a simple boy, that they were trying to trick. Doton thought that he was smart, trying to play Naruto's mind, but nothing he did was working out, as Naruto was just skirting around every question and not answering anything to the fullest. As things were sorted out and the alliance was made, all that was left for them to sign it. But Doton said that it was good if all of them got their problems out. It was then that Mifune spoke up. He was still pissed off. He was angry at Naruto. Sawaki had slaughtered 400 of his ninjas, as Naruto told him to not give him that after all. He had came to the Rain village, that is where his home used to be, to slaughter the people there and pillage. But it did not matter what Sawaki did to them. The man was still furious. She had turned them into her zombies, as the man had watched as his friends had tear apart each other, eating their flesh and turning them into zombies as well. He had to force a retreat, and the land of iron was locked down for a long while. He started to get a bit too angry, and he even called Naruto's wife's name. Yes, as Naruto started to lose his patience, as the man was talking about Sawaki in a rather bad way. As Kamina noticed Naruto, as she could feel the feeling of dread coming from him, just by being this close proximity. As he was no longer eye smiling, he was dead serious. As Naruto had enough, as he seemed to stand up, As Doton realized that everything was going to go to hell it seems, they had all told to give up their weapons just in case. But all of the others had weapons hidden away, but it did not matter. Naruto could slaughter all of them before they could even move. As Naruto locked eyes with Mifune. So yeah guys, those base guys what I thought you guys game. Switch across the place and check it out for yourself so to begin this new episode. Naruto got up to his feet. Listen Mifune, he said, as he discarded the honorable title. My student did what she did. That was necessary. It worked. Because you and your man had fled back to Iron, but your pride seemed to have got in the way. And if it was up to me, and if there was a chance again, I would have done the same, and she would have done the same. Enough, Mifune said. I demand a duel. A duel? For the honor of my fallen man, I will take your head back to Iron with me. Honor will be restored, Mifune said. Killing Sawaki's teacher would damage Sawaki more than anything in the world, and that was what Mifune wanted to do. He pointed his finger toward the scroll. You best get your affairs in order. Your successor will be the one to sign this pact. 10 minutes later, Royal Training Grounds. Bat firmly stood in front of Naruto, as she was not speaking as a BLEK operative. Naruto-sensei, are you sure you want to do this, she said. She glanced towards the master samurai over the other training ground side. I can take him. Naruto chuckled as he patted her head. I've been meaning to stretch my legs, Sue. This is the opportunity I've been waiting for, he said. She rumbled slightly. And calm down, Kisame, said Naruto, as the snow shinobis were on edge because Kisame was releasing a bloodlust that scared them. I'll handle it, said Naruto. Kisame handed Naruto his weapons as he looked over at Mifune. This guy must have an iron set of balls to be going up against Naruto, or he must be crazy. As Kushina unsealed Naruto Ninjato from the seal in her forearm. Finish this, she said. As she was a bit angry, this duel was what was keeping her back from going on a date with him. She had been silent for the first 3 days, as she just stayed with him in the room. And nothing more else happened. Well, she did build up her courage to kiss him on the chin and the cheek, but nothing more than that. As Naruto collected his Ninjato, quickly she said, I'll try my best, Nana, he said. She looked around, hoping no one heard him call her that embarrassing nickname. As he turned towards Bat, in case I don't win, she poked him in the chest. Don't play around like that. Kill this guy and let's get on with our day, she said. As Naruto simply chuckled at her, he then turned his head. Don't forget, Mifune, you asked for this. As Mifune was dressed in his traditional samurai armor, there was a white belt wrapped around his waist, which held a pouch, and his blade at his side. Under his armor was black gloves he was wearing on his arm, with simple black clothing under it, and normal shinobi pants and sandals. It was combat sandals for quick movements. His head was wrapped up in white bandage, covering the place that Hanzo Salamander had poisoned him in one occasion. Yes, Hanzo was impressed with the samurai back then, and he gave Mifune the antidote after he had bested him, because Mifune was a man that showed his skills, and Hanzo had took great pride in that, so he allowed the man to live. Mifune was known to be a master of the quick draw technique, able to dash up to the person and separate their head before they could even form one hand sign, and flick the blood off his blade and place back his katana into the sheath before the person even knew of their demise. As Hanzo had hailed Mifune to be able to negate his jutsu, because Mifune did not give Hanzo a chance to breathe. He was also known to be a master of the blade, as just by seeing a person's stance and the blade and how they gripped it, he could tell their fighting style and the way they were going to use a weapon. Looking at Naruto's weapon of choice, a Ninjato, made out of strong Oza steel, his mind concluded that Naruto's upper body was heavily strong, but his foot was fleet and swift. Naruto was a versatile fighter. He was roundabout and cunning, but he could also push the straight forward. Night Terror, that was the name of Naruto Ninjato. Mifune watched as Naruto ran his finger up the blade, as smoke came from his finger and surrounded the blade. As it flew back into his hand, he then pushed it back into the blade. The blade then started to grow in size because of what he just did, as it turned into a katana, but it still had the same look of his Ninjato. As Naruto flicked the katana to his side, as his arm was pointed outwards, his back was straight, his knees were bent a bit. Mifune recognized it. It was a reverse stance, a samurai stance, as Naruto was wearing his full shinobi gear and he adjusted his half black mask. You, Mifune, will die by a samurai stance, said Naruto. Tell me, do you know fear, Mifune? A samurai knows no fear, said Mifune. as Naruto breathed out a small, whips of black smoke was exhaled. Then, I'll show you. The two of them nodded to Doton, and the man brought his hand down. Begin! Mifune took the initiative as he moved forward straight towards Naruto. He made to draw his blade to slice Naruto from his left shoulder straight down to kill him with one strike. But his eyes widened as Naruto's eyes flashed with white energy. The shadows under his eyes darkened. Mifune's body froze as his blade was half drawn, not fully out of his sheath, as the ghost came into existence in front of him in a burst of black smoke. The bright red edge of his katana cut upwards, slicing through his torso as it sliced from the base of his stomach, tearing open his sternum and cutting straight through his throat. There was another eruption of black smoke as the ghost appeared behind Mifune and sliced right above his pelvis. The ghost then vanished again and it cut through his leg. Like his legs were made of water, time seemed to unfroze as Mifune collapsed down to the ground, his chest oozing blood. His screams of agony were silenced by a katana blade jamming right into his head. Suddenly, Mifune blinked as he stopped his pursuit. As he looked towards Naruto, who was still standing there. "Almost got you there, didn't I?" said Naruto. "Your tricks will not work on me," said Mifune, as Naruto seemed to sigh in disappointment. His killer intent went back into his body. That was just a vision of what would happen if Mifune got too close a moment ago. Images that played through his mind, as Mifune was completely fine. He didn't bother attacking Naruto, he had stopped. The technique was showing his opponent how he could kill them, well, one of the 100 ways. A stronger form of what he showed Kakazu those years ago, as Naruto had to give it to Mifune. A lot of other people die of cardiac arrest once they were hit by his killer intent. His ninjutsu then started to pulse. Black energy smoke seeping from the red edge. His face turned dark, his blue eyes more perturbed as the darkness over his face made his eyes shine brightly as he moved forward straight towards Mifune. Mifune's heart was still beating fast at the images that he had just saw, watching the ghost come at him at high tuning speed as his feet was rooted into the ground. As Mifune saw it, he saw his death again, over and over, as Naruto blade sliced through his forehead, taking his head off, as Naruto impaled his heart, severing his body into half. A kick smashed into his chest with so much force that his very heart exploded out of his back. Mifune shook his head as he blocked Naruto's strike. As Naruto twisted and kneed him right in the forehead, he had jumped up in a second before he took Mifune's head off. Mifune shook his head as his heart was beating even faster, only to realize that Naruto hasn't even moved since the fight began. He was still standing there in his fighting style. He didn't even move a single muscle, and yet Mifune was seeing hundreds of images of his death and even Naruto coming at him. And Naruto hasn't even moved yet. All this time Mifune had been fighting himself. He had been rolling on the ground like a mad person. This wasn't an illusion. The ghost killer intent it was. Chill ran through everyone around as the darkness swept through the training ground. Is this a true power of the ghost? All of them wander around, as they couldn't even imagine what Naruto's killer intent was showing Mifune for the man to be acting that way. Mifune had never fought Naruto before, but he had saw Naruto took on 100 Konoha ninja by himself, only using 2 kunais and slaughtering all of them with just pure speed and slashes. Now, 22 years later, Mifune didn't see this power increase at all. He never saw this coming. Yes, he knew that the leader of Dark Country will be stronger. From 17 to 39, of course, the person will get stronger, but still, he never expected this much of a difference. The ghost hadn't even moved, and yet he was acting like he was being slashed, he was being killed, and this was all his killer intent at work. Nothing more, nothing less. Mifune drive his own fist into the side of his head twice, shaking off the fear. "Fight me, you coward! Fight me!" Mifune brought his blade up, blocking Naruto's strike. He was fast as Mifune ducked as Naruto brought the blade around. He tried to sweep away Naruto's leg, but Naruto jumped and brought his blade downwards. Mifune shift, only to meet Naruto's feet into his face. He was thrown backwards. He had to roll as Naruto sliced his body. He nearly sliced in half as Mifune rolled out of the way. The grass was sliced out of the ground. As Naruto turned and fired a bolt of lightning at him, Mifune blocked it with his blade as he gritted his teeth hard, something like that he shouldn't have blocked. as he stabbed his katana into the ground for the lightning to flow into the earth. As Naruto fired lightning techniques after him one after another as Mifune kept on stabbing them into the ground. As Naruto appeared behind him, it was like he just came up out of Mifune's shadow. The old man managed to bend his back. As he sacrificed the armor as Naruto's blade ripped the armor open. Mifune spun around, opened to take Naruto's head off, but his blade passed right through the ghost, only passing through smoke as Mifune felt it in front of him. As the ghost drive his arm forward right into the unguarded chest of a samurai. His guards and his chains were ripped off him as Naruto's arm threw him back with incredible force, tearing his chestplate armor. Mifune staggered back to his feet as the ghost took his time approaching him. Much like how Naruto can turn his whole body into lightning, fully utilizing his lightning release bloodline. He could also turn his body into smoke, using his smoke Kikigenkai. It was called intangibility, as he became a true ghost when he did that. The only thing can affect him in that state was the chakra or an attack from a tail beast, a Jinjulika under the influence of a tail beast, as he could maintain it for how long he wanted, and he could pass through his opponents, force him to inhale the smoke from his body and destroy them from the inside. But he didn't want the fight to end that way though. Over the years, he had mastered his chakra and learned more, and perfect his techniques to a fine point. His lightning form was fast, the smoke form was untouchable, his soul form where he exited his body was untraceable, as the speed and strength, everything behind it was on a different level. He also had another form called guardian form. It was a combination of all the three mixed together, his soul form, his lightning form, and his smoke form. Something rather different. As he blocked Mifune's strike that the man came at him with, before spinning, he slammed his boot right into the man's skull. As Mifune dropped hard, boom, his head creating a small crater. Mifune coughed up blood as Naruto kicked him right in the abdomen. He was thrown like a rag doll, as everyone could see that Mifune was severely outclassed. He didn't even stand a chance. As Naruto arrived and stabbed his blade down, slicing close to Mifune's left ear. Mifune's eyes looked towards the blade right beside the side of his head, and he saw it. The fears in his eyes. He saw how his own face twisted in realization that he stood absolutely no chance here. A hand grabbed him by the front of his clothing and lifted him up, as a knee slammed right into his nose, throwing him back down to the ground. As Naruto brought him up and slammed his elbow right into his face 5 times, his face becoming bloodier and bloodier with each strike that he received. Doton rushed in to end the fight to call it in the ghost's favor, but Naruto looked over his shoulder, his murderous red eyes freezing Doton where he was. As Naruto continued his onslaught, he brutally beat Mifune's face until it was unrecognizable. "This is for insulting my students," said Naruto. Bang! "This is for your annoying pride." Crack! "And this is for wasting all our time." Blam! As Mifune was on the ground breathing hard, as he accidentally swallowed a few of his teeth, as they had broken completely. As Naruto rubbed his sore elbow, as he had used it to beat the man's face repeatedly. As he frowned, as he looked on at the still alive samurai. "You better not forget this day, samurai. Today is your lucky day." As Naruto raised his hand, as Doton came over. Winner! As Mifune had one eye cracked open. The rest of his face just a bloody mess. You have it, don't you?" As 3 of his samurai guards came rushing up to him, along with the snow medics. "Hanzo gave it to you." As Mifune pointed a trembling hand up at the monster who had defeated him. Mifune was certain. "I have no idea what you're talking about, Lord Mifune," said Naruto, as he collected the new childhood pack. As he forced a pen into Mifune's hand. "Sign here before you pass out," he said. Moments later, as Bat eyed her teacher suspiciously. "I promise. I'll show you once we find somewhere private," said Naruto. The argument was on the tip of her tongue, but she kept her mouth. "I've been ashamed of this for 22 years, so give me a bit of a time," he said. "Okay," she said, as she stepped away and phased out of sight. Kushina then stood in front of him as she handed his katana to him, as Naruto ran his hand down the blade, as it returned back to its normal size. "What was that about?" she said. "Something I did when I was younger," said Naruto. He did not regret it. He was ashamed of it though. "Is this a bad time?" she said. "Our date," Kushina said. He was snapped from his thoughts. "Ah yes, We will go out this night, he said. He gave her a teasing, pointing look. Don't wear anything fancy, he said. She bit her bottom lip in excitement, but confusion was in her eyes. Was that some sort of code to wear something fancy? Did he mean for her to dress casually? What about formal wear? Pajamas, she thought to herself. As Naruto saw, she was overthinking things. Seriously, don't wear anything fancy. Something casual, something comfortable. Naruto paused as he felt the seal on his shoulder tingle. The Dark Country's Supreme Commander seal. It was connected to all members of the council to speak to him directly, but it was only used in dire situations, emergency. He quickly deciphered the code, his eyes dim a bit. Let me go and talk to Sawaki. Sawaki had found a house outside of the mansion. It was a house of a dark citizen. The place had been swept down for bugs or microphones, despite the Dark Country member insisting that the place was private. As Panda nodded to him, Bat is upstairs. Third room on the left, as he made his way up. Sawaki was wearing her mask as he came up there, as she wanted to know what that man was talking about. I had just gotten you back from Hanzo, said Naruto, as he gestured for her to sit down. She looked at him, before having a seat. I didn't know where I was going, and I didn't hear. So long as you were far away from that salamander. Flashback. Naruto was low on chakra. He spent the last few of energy retrieving his student, as the old cage had dropped her and Konan, keeping his word after Yaiko killed himself, as he fled with haggard steps, carrying the 15-year-old vampire in his arms. He stopped under a tree, outside the hidden rain, but he refused to let go of her, as he dropped on his knees, cradling her in his arms. As he finally got a look at her, her crimson orbs were now milky white, and there were veins, black veins, going up her cheek. She looked around. Sensei, is that you? As Naruto looked at her face worriedly, his mind was trying to concentrate to find out what was wrong with her. I'm here, kid. Sensei's here, he said. I can't see, she says. She squeezed his arm. I can't see. I'll figure this out, Sue. Don't sleep. You can't go to sleep. He did not know that veins were also creeping up his neck. These ones were toxic green, and his blue eyes were dimming. As they were turning white, his vision became weaker and slumber was calling out to him. But he refused to go blind. As he searched for a chakra to make a clone, even a weak one, to go and bring help. But he found nothing, he was so tired. Out of the two women that Hanzo had captured, Sawaki was more stubborn. She had struggled, she had kicked, she had fought, until Hanzo forced her to inhale a dose of poison mist. As Naruto felt his eyes going dim, as the internal poison in his system started to destroy his organs, suddenly something scampered out of the bushes behind him and stood on its legs. It was just about 1.5 feet tall, standing on its legs like that, and its skin was cold black with red markings here and there over its black body, just like how a painter would just splash the paintbrush on the canvas, a black canvas. As Naruto's vision could not see what it was clearly, the thing looked at them, its eyes heavy from age and wisdom, centuries of it. As it opened its mouth, saliva dripped from its mouth. It brought its hands together and cuffed them. As its saliva fell into its hands, it waddled towards Naruto. Naruto growled defensively, but the thing came towards him and he was unable to do anything because he was too weak. It crawled up on his back. As it tore off his mask, it wrenched, opened his disfigured mouth, and poured the saliva down his throat. It tasted disgusting, but it was immediate. His eyes returned back to normal, the veins vanished, and his skin returned back to normal as well. But his body still felt extremely weak as he cradled Sawaki in his arms. The thing looked down at Sawaki and the symptoms that it was showing. As Naruto looked at the creature, it was a salamander, a sagely looking one from first glance. He begged without thinking, help her. It is remarkable that you're still alive, Ghost, the old salamander said. Hanzo used his best poison on you. Sadly, it is not the same poison he used on the girl. Hanzo had to mix his poison with mine to put her down. Strong girl. Naruto did not care about that. Help her, he said. Hanzo asked me to bring you this. The salamander placed down a scroll, and it opened. There was only one name on the scroll. Hanzo. Hanzo is passing over a summoning contract to you, Ghost. It was his last order. Even now, as Naruto had retreated, the fight was still going on with Nagato and Hanzo. The cure can only come if you become our summoner. Naruto bit his thumb in a second as he signed his name rather quickly. The scroll rolled up on its own as the elder turned and bit Naruto's hand, sinking poison inside his veins. Quickly, Ghost, your saliva is now the cure. And Naruto gently pried open Sawaki's mouth. In the flashback, as Naruto took off his half mask and showed his wife his face. His teeth clattered together as he pointed at them, his needle-like teeth. The salamander elder called this the approval of the salamander. Hanzo only had the venom sacs. I have this, he said. Suwaki's eyes widened. That is why you're immune to poisons. His teeth was something she thought was caused by his lightning release bloodline, or his silent night. Her red eyes dipped. Why didn't you ever tell me, Sensei? I was ashamed to think that Hanzo, of all people, was the one that saved our lives, said Naruto. I haven't thought about the salamanders until the old samurai mentioned Hanzo as he felt hands touch his cheek. Sensei, I'm not disappointed in you. I know, said Naruto. I'm happy you did that to save my life, she said. You are? She scoffed. Of course I am. I would have done the same in a heartbeat. As Naruto's eyes glittered as he looked away shyly. So you don't care if I'm ugly, he said. Suwaki giggled and pressed herself up against him as his arms wrapped around her. Oh, Naruto honey, you were ugly when we first met. And you're just as ugly now, she said. Psst, you're making me blush, Sue, he said. She tapped the hollow bone that was supposed to be his nose. I love you, all the same. As they exited the room, as Suwaki had placed back on her mask. As Naruto could only hope that he have no reason, like the past 22 years, to ever use his salamander summons. Later that evening, as Naruto was rushing about the city to prepare for his date with Kushina, Bat, and her team, calling, there was a message that Umura, Kurama, clan head of the Kurama clan, had sent him by walkie-talkie. Minato Mikaze was making suspicious movements around Konoha, first coming back to the village to find out that he had no house or money. He left the village the next day to the daimyo's capital, according to Naruto's source in the palace, and then Root tracked him down as he went to the hidden mountains, and he bought a house on top of one of the many mountain regions in the village border. While his comrades that came back from jail, some of them end up killing themselves because they want to forget about the memories. Some of them end up taking drugs and alcohol. Minato just moved around with vacant, empty eyes. Root knew about the places that Minato went for the truth, and with each truth that he received, his eyes got more hollow and empty. Umura was uneasy as their clanmates had saw Minato scouting near their empty compound. Naruto knew a ticking time bomb when he saw one, and Minato was just about to explode. He sent Team 12 to Konoha to deliver a message personally to Umura, and then they will return to Darkness, to BLAK headquarters, to assemble the forces for this direct mission. The Kurama clan was coming back to their home. Time skip. Kushina paced back in front of Naruto's bedroom in the snow mansion. She was in a black pants with red shirt. She also had a jacket on, zipped up, to warn off snow country. Cool weather. She had on white sneakers. Her date had emphasized that she would enjoy the night better if she wore something comfortable. She stopped in front of the door for the 100th time that evening as she looked at her digital wristwatch and counted up the seconds. 55, 56, 57, 58, 50. She nervously placed her hand on the door and stepped back as the door was open, as her date was dressed in a casual, plain, black shirt. He was wearing a grey sweatpants and a grey jacket that was unzipped at the front. He was in grey shoes and there was a rolled up scroll in his hand. Kushina, you could have come in, you know, he said. She blushed and pouted, avoiding the obvious statement. Where are we going, she asked. As Naruto closed the door and opened the scroll, showing that it was a map of snow country. There was at least 20 or 30 red dots marked on this map. We're going on a food tour, he said. Words couldn't even explain the unfiltered bliss that Kushina felt. He really knew what to do to impress her, as her face turned a darker shade of red, as she could feel her heart pulse. The butterflies in her stomach, they were dancing. Well then, shall we? As he extended his hand, she took it gently. Yes, we shall, she said. Time skip. Later that night, Suwaki pressed her ears up against the door, as she had a smile on her face, but the mask was on so you could not really see it, as she wanted to disable the seal and simply go inside. But Naruto insists that the first time with Kushina should be just them, as he didn't want to seem like they were using her. She could pick up the faint drops of signal that the 2 drops of blood in the room were sending her though, as she could hear the moans of pleasure inside. She wasn't going to lie, she was jealous, as he even went out of his way to create another mask, one that had perfect lips, so that he could lick and kiss her. 2 things that Suwaki loved to do with her teacher. The moment she heard Kushina was finished, she burst inside, as she quickly threw back the silencing seal, as she was going to be left out of this. Time skip. The next morning, Kushina smiled as she shuffled her head into Naruto's side, as Suwaki was on Naruto's other side as she was holding onto his arm. Her head nuzzled up into his arm. He snored quietly as he allowed them to use him as a body pillow. His eyes snapped open and looked towards the door. There was a commotion going on outside. He glanced at the ladies holding on to his arms as he tried to move gently but cushioned a whine. As a smile came on her face, "Naruto, stay," she said. He tried to tug his arm out of Sawaki's grip, but she growled, "No." A sweat drop went down his face at the authoritative tone that she took while in her sleep, making him wonder what kind of dream she was having. He counted to 5 in his head as a smoke clone took his place before they could even notice. The real Naruto gave his clone a thumbs up, and the clone nodded as he enjoyed it, so why would he move? As he walked to his grey sweatpants and black shirt, as he exited the room, servants and guards ran up and down as he made his way where they were going, as he wondered what was going on. Inside the room, he could hear cursing as he recognized Kisame's voice immediately. Naruto's body dissolved into smoke as he just passed through the crowd. As he materialized in the front, Kisame was drenched in blood, only in a pair of boxers. As he was swinging Samihata around, Samihata was not in his bandage, it was out fairly. It was snapping at all of the snow ninjas around Kisame. On his bed was a battered, mutilated corpse. The arms had been shredded down to the elbow. The stomach was sliced open. Scratches and cuts are all over the naked body. A woman, from what Naruto was able to discern. As Naruto shouted, "What the hell is going on here?" A hush fell over the crowd as they heard his voice. As those that were able to recognize who was in front of them now stepped back. As the snow ninja stopped. As Kisame turned towards his master. "Well," said Naruto. The BLAK members pushed back the crowd as he had came in. A brave snow ninja pointed at Kisame. Kisame, Hashigaki, is resisting arrest. As he motioned towards the scene of the crime, Kisame's bed, Kisame looked into Naruto's eyes with urgency. As Naruto looked back at his eyes, as Naruto walked up, Samihata, scale quickly receded. After all, it was Naruto who was in front of him. "Look at me," said Naruto. As Kisame had looked down, Kisame looked up. "Did you do this?" The other daimyos, besides Mifune, walked inside. "I didn't do this, Lord Naruto," said Kisame. As Naruto stared deep within Kisame's eyes for one long, tense minute. "He didn't do it," said Naruto. Yes, there was a feral look in Kisame's eyes. But Naruto detected no lie from him when he spoke. "But sir, her blood is all over him," the same ninja said. As Naruto turned in front of Kisame, he crossed his arms. He said he didn't do it. That means he didn't do it. Words could not describe the relief that Kisame felt when his master believed him. As Doton tore his eyes away from the carnage on the bed. "That isn't how the law works here in Snow Country, Lord Naruto." As Doton looked irritated as he spoke. "The suspect of a murder will be immediately detained unless proved innocent. And in his case, there is no way that your ninja was the one that killed this poor woman. Hasn't he not done far worse?" "Let's investigate this then," said Naruto. "Set up an investigation team, check for prints, check for clues, track back Kisame's night. Someone else did this, I'm sure of it. It will be a waste of our time and resources," Doton said. "Someone has to take responsibility for this." "Then I'll take responsibility," said Naruto. Doton was surprised by that. "Throw me in jail until you find the real culprit." There's no need for that," Doton said. "No innocent shinobi of mine will spend a day in jail," said Naruto. "Now, how are we doing this?" said Naruto. Time skip. A harmonica could be heard, as the person that was playing the music was none other than Naruto. The guards wonder how the new prisoner was able to sneak in a harmonica. They had searched him from top to bottom. They had slapped a chakra limiter on him, only giving him chakra for the bare minimum to survive. They were stopped from removing Naruto's black mask by one of the snow shinobi shaking his head quickly. The BLAK operatives were to serve and focus on the investigation just in case the snow investigators decided to pull a fast one on them. Taking his weapons and sealing off his chakra was enough. The black mask he wore did not distort as he blew into the harmonica. Some other prisoners joined in as he tapped their hands on the bars. Some of them whispered and the others hummed. The guards were utterly confused. It wasn't against the rule to sing, and it wasn't that the music was bad. It's just, this has never happened before. It seems like a majority of the prison was listening to the small concert that the person in Block K, Cell 52, was leading. "Shut up," a voice across from his cell said. One of the other prisoners, as Naruto turned his head towards it. "Screw off!" As he played the harmonica even louder. The others kept on humming to the music as well. "Keep quiet or else," the criminal in the other cell yelled. As Naruto stopped and looked over towards the hulking thing that was across from him. The man was covered in tattoos, and his orange pants was a lot larger than what was normally given because of his size. The man was big. He had a shiny, bald black head. As Naruto simply spoke back, "Or what?" he said. Or I'll beat the crap out of you, you dumbass, the man said. Naruto scoffed and rolled his eyes. I bet that's what you tell your little friend, he said. A groan of laughter rolled through the prison as Naruto raised the harmonica. The man pointed at Naruto. Better not play that again, you guy. As Naruto flipped him off and started to play again. But the people that were staying along, they dim. As this man was the biggest man in there. And he seemed to be rather dangerous to most of them. As Naruto could feel how heavy his body was with his chakra sealed off. It was like there was 100-pound weight on each of his limbs. But it wasn't a new or heavy sensation. For a max security prison, a light prison was better than Naruto expected. There was 2 basketball courts. There was a gym. A laundry room. There was a metal working yard. There was a place where prisoners worked to earn money, much lower than any minimum wage outside the prison. The place could use some refurnishing though, as the beds were worn out and thin, and the pillows were small and barely able to hold up your head. And the bathroom were only cleaned twice a week. At Dark Country, crime was rare there. The main things were pickpocketing and reckless carriage driving, or horseback riding, or public intoxication. The prison was still being built, and Naruto was keeping a keen eye on it, seeing whether they should just scrap it and use it for something else. Those crimes were already curbed very long time, as crime was lower to 1% in darkness. After school activities and proper wages, the crime rate was much thicker before. After all, ninjas coming back when the war was at its peak thought that the civil war wasn't over yet, and they were running amok. But things had settled down now. It was at 41%, but Naruto, the clan heads, and the loyalists, they had dropped crime to 1%. Hey, as Naruto looked down, as he was sitting on the top bed, it's not a good idea to get King angry. I hear that he eats his victims. Naruto answered with a flipping wave. I've killed worse guys in my sleep. His answer seemed to shake the person in the bottom bunk. Kill? Yep, kill. As Naruto looked under the bed that he was on to see his cellmate having killed anyone. The person was tan, as he had a deep tan, dark eyes and brown hair, a pointed chin but no other outlook features. He was wearing his orange jumpsuit, but the front was zipped to show the white vest he had underneath. No, never killed anyone, the man said, as Naruto tucked away his harmonica. The man underneath was confused because their jumpsuit didn't have any pockets on it, so where did he put it? What are you in for? Bank robbery. My getaway driver took the wrong turn. As Naruto's eyes narrowed, likely their getaway driver was his friend, who was killed while trying to escape on foot. The horse in the carriage was probably taken out. Guess we got too greedy, the man said. What do you mean, said Naruto. Well, we used to rob stores. Bills, they start to pile up. And I got myself into a really gambling bad debt. That's unfortunate, said Naruto. Yeah, you can say that. I'm Hero. I'm Naruto, said Naruto. What are you in for, Naruto? I'm taking the fall for a friend of mine. Someone framed him for murder. I'm having a team look into it. Wait, how were you able to convince them to bring you here instead of your friend? Hero asked shakily, as he was afraid that the masked man above him was a part of the Snow Country Yakuza. Maybe having his friend look into it, his friends, was then clearing the scene and getting rid of any evidence against them, so their names can be clean because they actually did it. I'm taking the blame, but only for a little while. So, King, what has he done, said Naruto. Huh, what hasn't he done? That would be a shorter list, said Hero. Murder, rape, burglary, bribery, extortion, armed robbery, home invasion. He's what we call a veteran jailbird. King, he's the boss of Chinokase, the gang that run this entire place. I heard that he's got connection amongst the guards and friends outside as well. He's been here more than most people, and what he's been doing around here, he will probably never leave either. For your own safety, stay clear of him and stay off his bad side. Naruto whistled in press. He changed the subject. How long are you in here for? Lord Doton, High Council gave me 5 years. I got 1 left, 6 for good behavior. And I really like to get out of here in one piece, he said, looking at Naruto. If you don't mind, as he thought that Naruto was a part of the Yakuza gang. The top 3 most feared on the continent. What else could explain him flipping off the veteran jailbird? Naruto chuckled, you know. I don't know why you're scared of me, Hero, but it's hilarious. You kill people. Of course I'm scared, Hero said. Well, how are you so sure I've even killed anyone? For all you know, I haven't even killed a rat. I know a shinobi when I see one, Hero said. Good eye, said Naruto. Counter argument though, they seal away my chakra. Your chakra, all for a chakra. How am I still a threat? It's kind of a gut feeling, and my gut has never let me off before. As Naruto thought, coming here with his glasses on, it had made him look like some weakling, but guess he was wrong. To some people, they still saw him as a threat. Must be because of his lean muscles and his pale skin and his mysterious blue eyes. He laughed as Kushina told him that is how she would describe him to anyone that asks. As his mind thought about her. And then Sawaki. Hey, Hiro. Yeah? You have anyone waiting for you outside? Nah, Hiro said. I assume you do, Hiro said. Naruto's finger dipped into his orange jumpsuit and he pulled a picture of him, Sawaki, and Kushina, as she had come at him with a camera when they had came here. When he came out of a long meeting, and Sawaki came out of the shadows and they took a picture together as he hung his arm off the bunk, showing Hiro the picture. My wife and my girlfriend. Wife and girlfriend? Hiro said. Yeah, said Naruto. Damn, do they know? Yeah, said Naruto as he left with the part that the three of them just did together a couple hours ago. Damn, and they're fine as well. You're a lucky man, Naruto. Naruto chuckled. Yes, I am, he said. How about family, he asked. I have a younger brother. He's a shoemaker. Haven't heard of him in years though. How do you know he's a shoemaker, said Naruto. His last postcard years ago said that he was setting shop up in the sand to make comfortable footwear for frequent travelers. I don't even know if he's still alive though. Naruto was about to say something, but his eyes moved towards the prison door as it was open. 3 guards stepped inside. Prisoner 547127. Get down here. Face the wall and put your hands behind your head. What is this about, said Naruto. I will not repeat myself again, the leader of the group said. As he pulled up batons, as he clicked a small button, electricity went over the batons. As Naruto jumped off the bed and went up to the wall, a hand grabbed both of his hands and pulled them down and cuffed them with chakra cuff suppressors. His legs were also chained as well. A firm hand pulled him out of his cell and another guard closed the door. You have a visitor, the leader said. Oh? You should have led with that, said Naruto. A hand dropped on his shoulder and tightened a bit. Quiet. Naruto ignored him for a second there. I thought you were taking me to the bathroom. King is gunning for my ass. I know it. If you don't watch your mouth, it will happen sooner than you think, the man said. Naruto glanced towards King and rolled his eyes. King simply grinned. As Naruto didn't catch who King was talking to, but he was sure that the man was talking to someone on their cell block. As they led him into a white room with a single table and 2 chairs. As he was forced down, and there was a metal pole on the table, which his hands were cuffed to. There was a pitch black one-way glass in front of him. As the door burst open behind him, Sawaki, not in her mask but wearing her full ninja uniform, came inside, emotionlessly. She sat down across from him as she looked him deep in the eyes. How's it going? As Naruto mulled the question over. I haven't been stabbed yet, so I think I'm good, he said. She rubbed her forehead. Can you take anything serious, Sensei, she asked. Food, said Naruto. I take food very seriously. He cracked a smile as she simply groaned. Have you found anything yet, he asked. Her eyes went towards the guards, watching them like hawks to make sure there was no exchange. She nodded. Yes. She couldn't reveal everything right there, with the cameras and the guards in there. But she could tell him about general investigation. She started to speak through code, body language, and the way she was talking, telling him that the things that she was about to say was not to be said in front of the guards and the cameras. As she laid out what they had discovered in the 30 minutes since he was shipped away to the maximum security prison, we found foreign chakra in Kisame's system. An eyewitness at the bar saying that he was drinking, saying that he was too drunk to even know where he was. She looked down and tilted her head to the side. Small movements that the guards wouldn't even recognize that were signals, saying that this was indeed true. And Komodo Dragon, a part of Team 12, had get a few drops of Kisame blood and identified that the strain in the man chakra system was of a Uchiha's. Yes, the foreign chakra was a Uchiha's chakra. Then how did she end up in his bed? As he tapped his ring finger on the table twice and turned his hand to the left. As that said, was the Uchiha chakra in Kisame's system because of illusion? Seeing that Kisame was rather drunk, it would have been easy to set an illusion over him rather quickly. The bartender said that she came up to him halfway in the night. As she started to speak, the both of them talking that they know each other for years now. She nodded. The woman also had Uchiha chakra in her system. She was a civilian from what they could see from her body structure, while Kushina was making sure the others didn't plant or do anything out of the way. Sawaki and her BLA team was breaking things that they should not break, laws, to get the real information, diving deep. BLA Team 12 was gonna break into the capital citizen record ship to find out if the woman was indeed a citizen of Snow Country, and whether she had left the country recently, to find out if she could have been placed on an illusion several weeks before the meeting with the Wild Nation daimyos. Sharingan Genjutsu was known for how long it lasts on a victim. Branching off a bit, Naruto asked Suwaki how moving the clan out of Konoha was coming along. She coded that she had delegated the mission to Onion, Carrot, and Omura. They said that there was a secret root tunnel leading to a direct area, a remote area in the sand. The thing Naruto had to worry about was the Kurama clan massing themselves so Konoha won't notice till they leave. Till the last second, dark countryside would help transport them once they were near enough. Naruto then leaned forward a bit. Was there any strange people in the bar? When Naruto looked in Kisame's eyes, he saw that Kisame did not do it. But he also saw that Kisame seemed to knew who did it. It's a bar, sensei, she said. Everyone there is sketchy. He sat back with a laugh as he shrugged, ordered a shot. She was gonna make Kisame talk, as it seems like he knew. She already got that from her husband. I'm gonna get you out of here tonight, she said. The guards narrowed their eyes, thinking that she was saying that she was gonna break him out of prison. He simply smiled. Let's hope I'll come out in one piece, Sue, he said. She leaned forward. You'll manage somehow, as she placed a soft kiss on his mask. You always do. Hey, no touching the prisoner, said one of the guards. Suwaki exhaled as she stood up. He reassured her that he was gonna be fine, chakra no chakra. He wasn't someone to be trifled with. She formed the chrono sign. I'll wait for you, Naruto-sensei. As he smiled, he raised his hand, as he had to keep it a bit low because of the chain. Thanks, Sue. Tell Kushna, I'll see you and her when I get out, he said. Meanwhile, the Sanraza had gotten a message from the members. There was a part of the Kurama clan. Onion was there himself. As he spoke to the man, he didn't want to tell Rasa about what will happen, as no explosion will be used and it will not affect the sand in any way. He was just giving him a clear warning, so his sand ninjas will know that something was going on in the dead of the night. That was the Kurama members being sneaked out of the village. If Konoha finds out and if they try to retaliate, Rasa could deny knowing anything about this, so he wouldn't get involved. And if they tried to come to darkness to try and force the Kurama clan members back, Naruto was gonna retaliate. And from what he knew, the daimyo didn't like Konoha that much, so he had a reason that she wouldn't retaliate. After all, it didn't matter if they tried. Darkness had long surpassed Konoha and their forces when it comes towards protection. After all, many people are trying to pass the break into darkness, and all of them failed. The difficult part in the operation was handling the owner of Mania. Present holder was 22 years old. The holder of Mania, to prevent the demon from gaining strength. She was not trained but taught in basic knowledge that was tutored from subject in Darkness Country. People from the Kurama clan could not touch her, or else the demon would be awakened, and they could not be further than 10 miles away from her. She would have her own personal carriage and she would be led out first, with the members close behind, no more than 5 miles. As Naruto gave them orders to make the Kurama clan welcome back into their home as comfortable as possible. And he didn't want the girl to feel alone and isolated just because she was holding back the demon. So that is why they should be kept close to her as well. After all, it was just the clan that couldn't touch her, as the operation will happen in a day. They have been waiting for 30 years, another day won't kill them. And I asked why I'm not allowed to know more about this operation, asked Raza. Leader Naruto, for respect out of your past alliance, want you to have none involvement in case of future accusations. Raza could understand that, as he knew Naruto. If he didn't want to get involved, it must be because of something. If they got caught, the son would not get caught up in it, and he has known Naruto for years now. The man was going to be the godfather of his child. So yeah, he had trust Naruto, and there was no reason to be pushy about this. So of course he agreed. But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want the next part of something to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also remember to go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Personally Trained by Kurama over on Anime King, and enjoy that, guys. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. But I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.